All right, so for today, we're going to be going over type inside of Cinema 4D, or more specifically, how to actually build your own sort of custom fonts and custom type. Some of this will be a bit of a recap of what we discussed last lesson, which was 2 weeks ago. So hopefully, if you have forgotten anything that we've discussed last lesson, this will be a little bit of a refresher as well. That's sort of how I've designed it here. But to start off here, I just wanted to show some other examples of 3D type, just so that you can get sort of an idea of what you can do with type. It doesn't have to be sort of a one-to-one of taking the type, bring it inside of Cinema 4D, and sort of extruding it out and calling it a day. That's definitely one of the most common ways that it's used, but it can also be used in a lot more sort of creative ways here. So here you see this is A to Z series that I've pulled from an artist from Behance specifically, and these are just, designs that they've come up with to represent the different alphabet letters here. This used to be a pretty common challenge that people were doing on Instagram and other places in terms of, everyday designs. But you can see here that this is all of the alphabet, but almost all of these aren't exactly sort of a straight, font that's, been sort of built upon. All of these have more design and more sort of creativity put into them than sort of your standard text here. So some of these objects, you might recognize them, such as, a lighthouse or a barber pole. Some of you might even recognize some of the circle objects inside of this S here if you've played some of these games recently, or maybe some emoji typefaces if you're used to using those in instant messengers here. So, this is just some of the ways that you're able to use type in creative ways. And if anyone has any questions on how any of these might have been built, or if you see any in here that are, sort of stand out to you, please feel free to mention them in the chat or to raise your hand at any time here. I think these are definitely pretty creative in their usage here. Over here we have additional sort of items that are used, and these are in other languages that you can use, which I've mentioned early on, which I think I've seen some of you have already figured out how to do that inside of Cinema 4D, which is really cool to see. But just to show that you're not limited to just the English language, any sort of font or design can be used and built upon inside of Cinema 4D, or any 3D application for that matter. Down here, I have one that's more ornamental, I guess you could say. You can see that this design started on pen and paper, or specifically blue ink, and then it was sort of built upon. So this is sort of your hand lettering style that has been extruded and built upon. So hopefully you can see that there's a lot of complexity that went into this design here. So, there's nothing to say that you can't build upon, sort of a pre-existing sort of shape and sort of, add more and more layers onto it. And not all of these have to be created, straight from the beginning from your original design. If you can't think of all the details in the beginning like this, that's totally cool. But sometimes, you might come along sort of inspiration that, sort of strikes you after you actually see your item in, in 3D more visualized. So don't think that you have to have it necessarily all perfectly planned out like this one might seem to be. There's different liberties that you can take with your designs. Over here we got another one, and this one is a brand name here. As you can see, this is Kellogg. So the cereal and manufacturer of many other food products. So this is another one here, and this one is more of your sort of standard type here, but you can also see that there's also a lot more that they have built around just the sort of basic structure of the shape here. So even if it is flat here, it also looks like they have, more pipes and tubings, sort of what you would see in sort of a neon sign per se. So, just keep in mind that you can sort of, take more, I guess, liberties maybe with your design, or add other real world or, imaginative items on top of it. So those are a couple examples that I pulled from the web here. And just below here, I just have some other examples of different designs that I've done in the past. So this is one that I did that's more, sort of along the lines of, I guess, illustrative like, more sketch like or painterly, you could say. Some of the compositing of this was done after the fact. Some of this was done straight in Cinema 4D. So just to show you that you don't have to create something that's super slick and super, I guess, sort of, looks really CG, I guess you could say, in terms of the normal appearance. You can add, more styling to it if you're so inclined to do that. Again, if anyone has any questions about any of this, let me know. If you're curious about sort of the sketch and tune stuff, that's definitely something that we can explore later on. But even here, you can see there's other examples of 3D type that I've created. Some of you might recognize this character if you've seen this cartoon or animated show over the years. If you have, let me know in the chat there. But yeah, just to show that, you can combine your text with 3D objects. This lesson is more sort of text focused, but for your next assignment, which will be your first studio project, it will be sort of creating a brand design. So based off of some brand that you choose, or it could potentially be imaginative brand depending on how you pitch it to me. There's different ways you can go about that. And then over here, just to show you another one that I have here, I think this one has sound. There's one at least loops here. Oh yeah, so this one is more of your standard text. I don't know if any of you recognize this character or where it's from. Raphael, yep, you got that right, for the Ninja Turtle. So this is another one that I made for just a little fun holiday Instagram thing that I did for fun. So you can see the type is there, and this character I actually made in 3D. If any of you know what show that's from, let me know. But yeah, just to show you that there's a bunch of different ways. Yep, you got it, Andre. It is from Avatar. So yeah, so a bunch of different ways that you can use type in 3D. And of course, once we get to it, you can also animate your type. I think I've shown this one before, but I will show it again anyway. So there's nothing from stopping you from animating your type in 3D, which is something that we'll be getting to pretty soon here. I think at least some of you are interested in the animation side of things. But you can also create graffiti type in 3D, which I also showed some other artists depictions of that as well. So if you want to do more gritty, more abstract sort of type, you can definitely do that inside of Cinema 4D as well. This is a sketch that my uncle did way before I was born, and I was able to figure out how to translate it in some fashion into 3D to create this sort of b-boy dancing character here. So just another example of how you can use type in 3D space in different ways, and there's no real limit to what you can use. It's really up to your imagination in terms of how you want to, bring your text to life per se. It can even look more like a candy cane type of shape if that's something that you're really interested in doing. So just to show you a bunch of different examples, just to sort of get you thinking about different ways you can use type in 3D, from more abstract to more literal representations of the word or the words that you're choosing to convey their message to the user. So there you go. There's a couple different options there. Again, if anyone has any questions about any of this later down the line, or maybe how some of this might have been done, feel free to drop a message in the chat, or whenever, just get in touch with me. Okay, cool. So now that we got our little intro bit here, let me show you what we're going to be working on today. So this is a sketch design that I made a little bit ago, specifically for this class example, since you can see it's ComD. So let's focus on our department here. But let me play this out here, and then I'll explain what we're actually going to do. So quick little animation there. I'll play it again one more time. So that was made all in Cinema 4D, and as you can see above here, it was a sketch, and I believe I did this in Adobe Fresco just as a pure drawing, but of course you can do your drawings in any program or just on real paper and scan them or take a picture and translate them that way. Then I was able to break it out, and then inside of Cinema 4D I was able to build this shape. I did do some modification to it, of course, and there are a bunch of different ways. This is just the one way that I chose to do this. So when you do, build your assignment for that's going to be due next week, I'm going to teach a number of different methods in class today, and feel free to use whichever one you're the most comfortable with. If you like using Photoshop, you can use Photoshop to start it off. If you like using Illustrator, if you like just drawing it on hand, that totally works as well.